right? You woke up this morning, you prayed, and you said, "This will be a fantastic day." And just in case you haven't said it out loud yet, won't you say it with me? This will be a fantastic day. Yeah, that's how we have to manifest it. We have to believe it for ourselves, right? It doesn't matter what comes up against us, how other people are acting around us, what gets done, what won't get done. It is a fantastic day. And you know what else? You are making a difference. Yes, you are. You are making a difference to your workplace. You're making a difference to your community. You're making a difference to your family. You're making a difference to your church. You are making a difference. Okay? So say that with me as well. I am making a difference. Let's say it one more time. I am making a difference. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Okay, so hey, that's how we have to start our days. We have to believe it. We have to confess that, right? And so, everyone, thank you for joining me. My name is Dr. Wanita Mercer. I am the founder and chief heart leader at Leap My Heart Coaching and Consulting. And what you may have planned to sit in on or just kind of stumbled upon here is a series that I'm doing this month called Cheers to New Beginnings, just talking about how to implement the vision of your projects, your programs, or that new initiative that God has given you to do. Because you know what? If you can see it, you can achieve it. And so it started August 15th. If this is your first episode or you missed some, don't worry. They stay on my social media and you can go check them out on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn where you're viewing it now. So go check them out, okay? And then also, after the completion of the episode, I hope to get them posted soon, but just know that day, you will also have the tools that I'm going to show you and talk about in this video, okay? So hang on. All the tools are there. They're coming. You can use them and just take them and run with them to fulfill what you need it is you need to do, right? And so I'm just here to help. Yep, I'm just here to help you and just share some information. So, but engage with me. That's what I want you to do by liking the video, loving the video, okay? Share the video on your timeline as well. Tag people, tag your friends, tag your coworkers, tag family, tag people from church, tag, tag, tag. And then also comment. Let me know that you're here. Say hello, ask questions, engage with me, however you like. And then also react. Throw up some hearts. Let me see those hearts and those likes. And then also, if there's something I say that you don't like, hey, trust me, you won't like everything. I don't even like everything I say. So why would I expect you to like it? Because some of the things I'm just like, oh, this is hard. This takes too much time. But you know what? We have to do it. If we want to see progress in our life, if we want to see us actually complete the project, we have to make the time, especially here at the beginning, to do the work, right? To write the vision and make it plain so that we know exactly what we're doing, why we're doing it, how we're going to do it, right? So it can be effective, right, for the people that we're making that thing for. So, you can see here that it's going through August 22nd. Day one, step one was construct the vision. Day two, step two was contextualize the vision. Day three, step three was constrain the vision, not choking it, but building boundaries around it. Okay. No, we want to breathe life into the vision, right? But still, we have to have boundaries, right? We have to have constraints, but then we also need to know how to manage them. So that's what we talked about yesterday. And then today, day four, step four, we're talking about communicating the vision. Okay, so let's get to it. And if you watch any of my episodes, you know how I like to start. I like to start with some words of wisdom from Proverbs. And Proverbs 25:15 says, Patient persuasion can break down the strongest resistance and can even convince rulers. Let's take a moment and let that sink in. Patient persuasion. When I think about patient, I think about, yes, it takes time, but I think here also the meaning that I extract from this is with intent, using some strategy, okay, with that patient, not doing it too quickly, but thinking about it, considering it, putting it together, right? How you're going to persuade someone. Because that is the whole idea, is to persuade someone, to motivate them to act. That is another definition of leadership we don't often hear. We hear that leadership is influence. We hear that leadership is, power, right? But leadership is also the ability to motivate people to change, to act. And that is what I hope to accomplish here. And that is what, as leaders, we should all hope to accomplish, that we motivate people to act because we can't do it. As a leader, you can't do everything, right? And even when you try, you burn yourself out, you get tired, you get exhausted. You're not supposed to do everything. But the whole objective of a leader is to motivate, to encourage other people, yes, other leaders, other emerging leaders, to want to do it, right? To be motivated to act and to change and to implement that thing on their own without coercion, right? Without the mandatory stipulation, all of that, but to want to do it on their own. And so it's how do we lead the heart, right? How do we touch people's hearts and how we communicate the vision of what we're doing to break resistance, right? About everything that we're wanting to do. To, as in my research, I talked about how do we increase acceptance, right, for change and decrease resistance, fear, cynicism towards change. Okay, so that's what we're wanting to do. And it says that we can even convince rulers. Rulers? Like, yeah, executive leadership, right? Managers, supervisors. So what is that telling you? That wherever you are, that you have someone ruling or supervising above you, this is a technique that you need to get a handle on. Yes, in order to persuade and convince. Because from a followership perspective, this is something that you need to learn how to do well. Okay, using persuasive language in order to lead your leaders from behind. It's effective for you too. Okay. So again, this is important for all leaders, emergent leaders, wherever you fall on that spectrum. Okay. Wherever you are in your organizational leadership. Okay. You can use these techniques. So let's get to talking about how do we actually strategize persuasive language. Well, we begin with what we call Aristotle's three appeals, okay, to persuasive language. And you're probably, maybe have heard of it a little bit here and there. If you've taken philosophy, you probably have discussed this, or any type of linguistic type courses, ethics courses as well. You probably run across Aristotle's three modes of persuasion. But there's a fourth one here that I'm also introducing that now collectively is considered to be the four modes of persuasion. Okay. And that is kairos. Okay. So we're going to get to that last because then that provides the context. And that's an important word regarding kairos that we'll talk about. But first, let's begin with pathos. What is pathos? Pathos is an emotional inclination. So when we're talking about pathos, it's an emotional appeal that aims to establish a spiritual connection. meaning it's something tangible and that it's spiritual. That with the message, what I'm hearing, and what is being said, I can relate to it, okay, in a way that's very meaningful to me. And so as a speaker, that is what you want to establish, that connection, that spiritual connection between the listener and the message. Okay. But how do you do this? By targeting human emotions. We're spiritual beings. We feel, we have emotions, we emote, right? When it comes to how we talk and using feelings and expressions, like even how I present, I'm very passionate about how I present this, and I know you can feel that. And I feel like, well, one thing I've always believed is that what comes from the heart reaches the heart, right? And so when I talk about, how to relate to feeling tired, to feeling overwhelmed with leadership, right? Or even how I introduce my videos, making that connection with you about maybe how you may be feeling about your day. That is a pathos appeal. Okay. So that's my appeal to you from a human emotion um, perspective. Now, when it's done correctly, pathos is very motivational, right? It's like, yes, I connect, I get it, I understand. I can take this and it become my own, right? I can move forward. But when it's misused, when it's not used correctly, this I wanna get ready to say this pathological appeal, but a pathos appeal can be very manipulating. It really can. So what's the difference between being motivational and manipulating? Intent. Is the intent of the speaker's heart, right? Because again, what comes from the heart reaches the heart, and people know when they're being motivated versus when they're being manipulated. And what we do not want to do is get caught up in manipulating people using their emotions, knowing how they feel, knowing what their struggles are, knowing what they've been dealing with, and using it against them rather than using it for them. Because the message is to help them, right? Okay. So the second thing we want to really develop a skill for is ethos. And ethos is an ethical appeal that helps to establish the speaker's credibility by exercising things like confidence in speaking, knowledge, sincerity, being honest, being transparent. Okay, and that's one thing that I really strive for is to be honest, to be open, to really put my own emotions and heart on my sleeve because I also truly believe that we teach with our strengths, but we touch people with our weaknesses. And so I do speak very confidently about the material that I talk about here. If I was constantly like, um, and yeah, and then also, you would be like, gosh, she's not comfortable with this. She doesn't have any idea really what she's talking about, right? So it's important to be confident because it's not just the message, but it's how it's delivered. Okay, that's important. And so that's ethos because you're wanting to establish credibility. Then the next one is logos. Logos. Now, you've probably have been introduced to logos before, especially if you have any background in like communications. It gets talked about quite a bit, but more so from um, the use of words and language. But from this Greek perspective of logos, it's dealing more with ethics. Okay. What is ethical? What is right? What is sound? And so, I'm sorry. I didn't mean that. I misspoke. It's dealing more with this idea of presenting evidence. And I think I was more inclined to say ethics because from a research perspective, I think of it from an ethical perspective. That when I've often taught research and helping students to develop sound research, I've always encouraged them to identify their biases so that they're careful not to include that in presenting the much needed evidence and results of their data. Okay, and how they put together their research, how they build their case, if you will. Okay. And so, whereas logos is different from ethics and from this credibility versus presenting reasons and evidence, it still needs to be done in an ethical way. It's so important, right? That the facts you're presenting are, in fact, facts, right? That the evidence that you are showing and reporting is in fact something that happened. It's real, it's true. Okay. And so my point here is that in the midst of trying to create or establish the urgency for the message that you are speaking, that you're giving, when used correctly, right, it's very qualifying, it's reasonable, it's objective. But when you don't do it well, when you misuse the logo's appeal, then unfortunately it becomes biased and subjective. Because your intent is to be misleading, right, with the evidence and things that you provide. And that's why it's so important to always provide both perspectives of evidence. Talk about both sides of the coin, right? Both why we should do it, but also the hesitation in doing it. And when you present both perspectives, it's more balanced, it has less bias, and you're also still giving the person, the listener, the respect of making the decision on their own. And you don't have to worry about presenting evidence that might be contrary to the perspective that you want them to have, right? Because if you do it well, and that's the skill we're wanting to develop, it's still going to have the outcome that you expect. Okay. And if not, well, you just didn't do it well. Or maybe that person's heart just isn't open to receive the message at that point. Right. So, when we're talking about logos, presenting the evidence and stating clear reasons as to for the reason for your message and establishing the urgency, let's be sure to do it in an ethical way. Okay. Then, lastly, we have kairos. Okay, kairos is in the art of communication. It's not so much an appeal necessarily, but I would say it's the art of communicating at the right time, at the right place, with the right intentions, right? It's really saying that like the timing and the place of it is critical, and it is. Oh my gosh, I have had situations or experiences where people wanted to have very deep, serious conversations in mixed company, which is not okay. In environments where we're supposed to be having fun, it's casual, enjoying yourself, and then you want to pull people to the side and have a deep conversation? No, that's not the right time. It's not the right place. Right? And so it's considering all those factors. Um, is this a good time? Can the person really hear you and understand what you're saying? Are they busy? Are they distracted? Is this the right environment for it? Does this provide the privacy that this type of a message needs? Respect and consideration. And so Kairos is putting the strategy into making sure that the environment is a nurturing for the message, okay? Because if you don't put in that type of consideration and strategize that, what happens now is that the message is no longer being nurtured, it's being neglected. Think about that, right? It's very neglectful. And now all of a sudden, because you chose the wrong place, you chose the wrong time, right message, but now the message in the context of something that's becoming offensive and unsafe, and disrespectful to the listener. And so we want to be mindful of that. The Greek word kairos also means weather, like climate, environment. And so, you know, think about that. You don't want certain events to happen during certain weather situations, right? So think about your message as the perfect wedding or the perfect party that you want to have. What kind of weather do you want for that event, for your special occasion? As much thought as you would put into the right season, the right temperatures and all of that to create the right environment for your party, that's the kind of care we need to put into saying, is this the right time and place for this message? Okay, I know I said a lot there, but I really wanted to reiterate how important it is to use these properly so that we're not manipulating, we're not misleading, we're not, being unbiased and being neglectful, but we're really giving people the respect that they deserve. Because as emotional beings, yes, we are. Spiritual beings, yes, we are. But we're also intelligent beings. We may not act like it all the time. Come on. We don't. But we are, by the grace of God. We are intelligent beings. And so the last thing that I want to also give you are some tips on creatively communicating the vision. So once we get a handle on the pathos, the ethos, the logos, and the kairos, those modes of persuasion, here are other ways that you can creatively communicate your vision, okay, which is the message, right? Number one, create new language or, cute words or keywords that appeal to your target audience that reminds them and relates them of the project that you're working on. One of the things like, for example, I now introduce myself as the chief heart leader of Lead My Heart Coaching and Consulting. Why? Because that is the message that I want to convey. That I'm not just a leader, I'm not just a CEO. I'm the chief heart leader because that is the vision, that is the message that we have to lead the heart. And so every time I introduce myself as the chief heart leader, then I'm also reiterating my mission, my vision, and what we do and our values, right? About how we want to do things. And then also when I do videos now, I say, hey, heart leaders, even though people may not understand what the heck a heart leader is, right? It's okay because the more messaging I do, the more teaching and instruction and language I build around my company, my business, the more clear it will become, right? But you start somewhere. It's just like Beyonce and the Bayhive or the Beehive, right? It's like it's building community around that word. Okay. Number two, create an acronym. I'm so big on acronyms. I love acronyms. I use them all the time in college, helping me to grasp information and using them in study, my study time. I love acronyms, but they help you remember things, but they also help you summarize your goals and objectives of your project, okay, or your company or whatever you're thinking about. Um, but because you want people to remember, right? You want people to be able to say, "Okay, I know the acronym, but what does it stand for?" And it gets them thinking, and before you know it, they remember. And I'm big on acronyms, and so even in yesterday's um, episode, when we're talking about um, not communicating the vision. Constraints. Okay, I almost forgot. So in episode 3, day 3, we talked about constraints, constraining the vision. And one of the things I was talking about were the 3 primary constraints: budget, time, and scope, right? And the fact that when we do it well, what we're doing is helping to enhance our rest. Our rest, that was the acronym. And REST stood for R, our reach, E, our effectiveness, S, our sustainability, And then T, trust, our ability to build it, to build trust. So that's rest, okay? Um, reach, effectiveness, sustainability, and trust, okay? So that's something that I can remember, right? And so if I'm talking to people, if I'm trying to help them in a conversation, I'm like, you know what? Write down this acronym. And I want you to think about this, right? When you're managing your scope, your time, and your budget. So it's even helping me as I coach and I consult with people. And then the other one that I came up with was the car model for contextualizing the vision. And I thought it was so cute. The car model? I know. A little corny. It's okay. But the car model stood for C, consider. Consider what it is that you want to know, the kind of information that you need to gather. Okay, and from who and why. A means to conduct your analysis. And so C, consider. A, analyze. Okay, where you're actually choosing the analysis you're going to do and conducting it. And then R, respond, right? Now that you have all the information, respond. What's the appropriate response, and the changes that you're going to make sure that you're helping the people you say you want to help, you're doing what you say you want to do, and so on. Okay, so that's the car model for contextualizing the vision. Okay, so acronyms are great. And then number 3, write a mantra that is repeated over and over and over again in meetings, your live videos, any type of communications that you do, you're writing it as a blurb. Um, it's so important. And that way it becomes a part of culture, right? That you do, that you say. At our church, we have a mantra as well. We say it every time at the beginning of the sermon to remind us of what we believe. And then, do you know my mantra? Do you know this is a test? I say it at the end of every video, and that is in everything you do and with everything you have, love God and love people. And that is the heart of my message and what I do because it's so, so important to love people. And then number 4, be consistent with your message. Okay. For people to get a hold of it, to remember it, to be able to repeat it, to be able to expect it, it has to be something repeated over and over and over again. Okay, so make a point to throw it in there. Don't forget to say it. And that's across um, all media, whether it's in video, in your writing, in your speaking, in your podcast, and however you want to do it, but also in all modes of communication. And what I mean by that is your message should also be consistent by what you say it, how you treat people, how you live, how you operate, how you do business, right? How you present yourself. Let your message be consistent. Okay. And it would be so, so important to really reaching people and helping you to fulfill your vision, which is the point. That's the point of learning how to communicate the vision. So I hope you like those tips. Let me know what you thought. Okay, what were your thoughts? Is this something that you'll use? Was this new to you? Have you heard this before? Was it a great reminder? Let me know. Comment below. I would love to hear from you. And also, any questions that you may have over something that I said or want to know, I'm happy to help you. Okay. I also want to remind you all that Lead My Heart now has an academic internship program. We're super excited for it. And so the application deadline is August 31st so that we can make sure I get everyone in and oriented with the start of the semester so that we can work together and accomplish amazing things. Just scan the QR code there to apply. It's open to juniors and seniors in college who are enrolled in an internship course, okay? Or you can go to leadmyheart.com/interns with an S, okay, to get more information about the academic internship program. But I'm looking forward to the applicants and the interns that I will be working with. I'm looking forward to loving and building and developing and cultivating interns in a way that I wish I had been kind of early on. And I did have great opportunities, but I want to have the internship program that I wish I had, in my early college years for sure. Um, but for all things, follow us on social media at Lead My Heart 2022. Okay. And again, follow, like, share videos, and let me know if they're being a blessing to you. Okay. So that's it for today. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your Thursday. And remember, in everything you do and with everything you have, love God and love people. Goodbye.